Thank you very much, DJ. And indeed, the Vikings do seem very confident. Here's the playoff picture then. In the NFC and the AFC, for that matter. Saturday, Washington and Tampa Bay. Next week, Sunday, the winner of this game at St. Louis. Saturday, Tennessee at Jacksonville, and Sunday, Seattle at Indianapolis. If Miami wins, it's Miami at Jacksonville, and Sunday, Tennessee at Indianapolis.
So what we know here, and what everyone here is interested in, is the team that wins this game will go to St. Louis next Sunday and play against the Rams.
The owner,
Red McCombs, and he knows that as well as anyone. And we also know that the loser of this game is through for the year.
Jeff Ogden and Jason Tucker ready for Mitch Berger's kickoff. You don't return many, but this one is a possibility as Tucker comes out from the goal line, hit hard at about the 21. Let's look at the Dallas offensive line. Flozell Adams, Larry Allen going to the Pro Bowl. Stepnoski, McIver, and Eric Williams headed for the Pro Bowl as well. Ishmael, Emmett Smith headed for the Pro Bowl. Robert Thomas improving every week at fullback. LaFleur, the tight end, and Jason Tucker, another element he's added. 3 wide receivers. The Cowboys will open with Chris Brazzell, Tucker, and Ishmael. Tucker's in the backfield, and now he's out of the backfield in motion. Aikman to throw it. Brazzell from Aikman. Let's look at the Minnesota defense. As John said in the beginning, you can light them up, but they can light you up. Dolman, Randall, Ball, and Clemens up front. Dwayne Rudd, Ed McDaniel, and Kylie Wong, the 3 linebackers. And the secondary, they've had a lot of problems, a lot of injury problems there. 2nd and 5. Aikman's 1 for 1. Showing blitz. Emmett Smith hit at the line of scrimmage by Robert Griffith, and you'll hear a lot of that.
He's one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL. He's a strong safety for the Vikings, and he's the guy, you know, when they say that the Vikings have to stop the run, a guy that has a big responsibility is this Robert Griffith, and he's the guy that can do it too.
They said they had to force Emmett to the outside, and they accomplished that then.
Yeah, they don't want him to have his shoulders square running straight into the line.
4 wide receivers, and Aikman backs into the shotgun.
The Vikings have 6 defensive backs in there.
I think he got him. Brazzell, the intended receiver. A flag on the play.
I think that was a free play, yeah, because Dwayne Clemens, the left defensive end, jumped.
Offside, 92, defense, 5 yards, first down.
Jerry Austin, the referee.
And there's Dwayne Clemens right there. You can see as Stepnoski brings his head up, the center. That's it. Now watch Stepnoski. He not only moves the ball, but he brings his head up. So they're keying in on the ball. Now watch when Mark Stepnoski brings his head. See how he moves the ball? And Clemens was moving on that. I don't know that that's not illegal.
It isn't if you get away with it.
But he always gets away with it because he always does that on shotgun.
Pitch back to Emmett. And Smith breaks away from the pack. Emmett Smith still going. Smith down the sideline. He could go all the way. Emmitt Smith's out of bounds at about the 3.
That was the thing that the Cowboys said that they had to do. They had to be able to run Emmitt Smith. And the Vikings said we have to stop Emmitt Smith. And one of the things we have to do is we have to get up there at the line of scrimmage, not let his shoulders get squared. Look how his shoulders squared, and we have to tackle. And you see, we see 1 missed tackle right there, 2 missed tackles, 3 missed tackles on that play, plus some great running by Emmitt Smith.
Did you see the block by Robert Thomas?
That's the thing that got everything going. And watch Emmitt Smith. His legs are always going. His feet are always moving forward.
First and goal, and here's Emmitt again to about the half-yard line.
This is where last time Chan Gailey was saying where you really get the noise is when you get down there inside the 20 and on the goal line. Now here you see they got two backs in here, two leads. You see they got the double lead, and Emmitt Smith is just getting right in behind them. That's your wedge play. You know, when the linemen come in, you get that double lead, and you just get your back in behind the wedge going straight up the middle.
Second and goal. Smith doesn't get in. Gets to about the 1 foot line, it appears. That long run by Emmitt Smith was 65 yards, by the way.
A good defense here by the Minnesota Vikings, and this is one of the problems that the Cowboys have had all season. You know, they can get the ball down there, and then they have trouble getting it in.
Just across the 1.
Coach Fazio, the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. He has wristbands. He calls off the wristbands to Ed McDaniel calling the defense.
Aikman calls timeout. That 65-yard sprint by Emmitt Smith is the longest run in postseason history for the Cowboys. Previously was 53 yards by Tony Dorsett. 2 tight ends, 2 running backs. I think Emmitt moved too soon. The pass is over the head of the intended receiver, who was David LaFleur, but...
And you're right, Emmitt did move too soon. Now, this is going to be an interesting call. I would think that the Vikings should turn it down and make the Cowboys make the decision to go for it on 4th down or to kick a field goal. And I think the Cowboys would kick a field goal
I think so
if
too.
they turn the penalty down.
I agree.
Robert Griffith is walking over towards the sideline to get what Denny Green wants to do.
Illegal motion. Number 22 of the offense moving forward at the snap. Penalty at the fly. 4th down.
You see, here's Emmitt Smith, and you can see that he's moving forward. So that's the penalty. Then you can see the play fake and the pass over David LaFleur's head. So that didn't have a chance anyway. You know, that's the thing that the Cowboys can do. It seems all year they can move the ball up and down the field, and then they get close to the goal line, and everything just kind of tightens up on them, including themselves.
Eddie Murray with Bjornsson holding. 43-year-old Eddie Murray. And it's 3-0 Dallas. Back at the Metrodome, the wild card game between the Cowboys and the Vikings. Dallas on top, 3-0. 7 plays, 78 yards. Big run by Emmitt Smith for 65. Toby Goen to kick off. High short kick. Handled by Robert Tate. Hit by Darren Woodson. Let's look at the Viking offensive line. They've been together longer than any group in the NFL. Stussy, McDaniel, Christie, Dixon, and Stringer. That's usually a good sign when that group can stay together. Moss, Smith, Kleinsasser, the fullback, Glover, and Chris Carter. The 2 bookend receivers headed for the Pro Bowl. Chris Carter just named to the All-Pro team this morning.
You know, someone said that the first pass is going to be to Chris Carter on Deion Sanders, right down here.
Deion facing him from about 2 yards away. Up the middle. I don't know if those pass was caught or not. It's Glover.
You know, one of the things with Jeff George as a starting quarterback, he doesn't throw a lot of balls to his tight end. I mean, Jeff George believes if you're going to throw the ball, it's a vertical game. and it's going to be a vertical game. You throw it to the wide receivers. Here he just has Glover right up the middle, and as soon as he gets by those linebackers, if Jeff George would have thrown that a split second earlier, he would have had a completion.
If not for the hit by Woodson, Darren Woodson, that would have been complete.
Look at this. Jeff George throws 80% of the time to his wide receivers.
George to Robert Smith. Nothing doing. Here's the Dallas defense, and they've done almost an unbelievable job. Ecubon, Spellman, Hennings, and Kavika Pittman up front. Dexter Coakley, Randall Godfrey, and Darren Hambrick. Deion Sanders, George Teague, Darren Woodson, and Charlie Williams starting at the other corner. Glover, after the hit by Woodson, in search of breath.
The Cowboys now have 6 defensive backs in there.
George out of the shotgun. And Jeff George fires incomplete. Chris Carter screaming for pass interference, but no flag.
That's a good start for the Cowboys. I mean, both offensively, moving the ball all the way down the field, although one of the things Chan Gailey said last night, that he said we just can't settle for field goals. He said we have to get touchdowns when we get down there. Last week they got down to the 3 and the 4 and didn't score a touchdown on their first 2 times. This time they get down to the 1-yard line and don't score a touchdown.
Berger's kick line to Deion Sanders, who fumbles it. And let's see who got it. The Vikings, of course, say they do, and apparently they do. Dwayne Rudd comes out of there with the ball. Unlike Deion.
The thing that Deion Sanders says, he tries to just look at the last minute because he's trying to watch guys come down, see where holes are going to be. Dwayne Rudd was right there in the middle, and it looked like Deion Sanders was trying to decide, do I go right, do I go left, and the ball went right through him.
Deion remains on the field and walks out with Chris Carter to his left and Carter's right. Jeff George. The Vikings get the first turnover.
Look at how deep those 2 safeties are.
Here's George dropping. Has good protection. Flag on the play, and where it's thrown would appear to be holding.
And it's in the area of holding, as you say, in the area of the left tackle, Todd Stussy, who had a real bad game against the Cowboys the last time they played.
Number 73 of the offense, 10 yards, repeat.
Stussy.
Here's Todd Stussy right here. He's a left tackle right there. You see him blocking there. Everything looks okay. I don't know that is a hold, but I was saying, look how deep the safeties are. They are going to double these receivers as long as they can. In fact, Dave Camp was telling us last night that he would like to keep his defensive backs out of the running game. Let the front 7 take the responsibility for the running game.
First and 20, 3 wide receivers for the Vikings. George fakes, gives to Robert Smith. Hennings got him around the ankle.
And it's tough to do after a penalty like that, but one of the things, to get those safeties up, to get those safeties from staying way back, and they were on that down again, you have to be able to run the ball and run them out of that type of coverage. Because what they want to do is they would like to just double Carter and Moss the whole game.
Leon Lett comes in, a 3-man rush by the Cowboys. Leon should be fresh. George back to throw. Fires deep. Incomplete. Knocked away by Sanders, intended for Jake Reed.
Deion Sanders was saying that he plays against 3 wide receivers, and he's going to play them all differently. You know, Jake Reed, he likes to jam and play tighter. Carter, he wants to play tighter, and he wants to mix it up against Randy Moss. Deion Sanders almost had an interception there.
Yes, he did. George is 0 for 3, 3rd and 17.
He started out like that the last time they played. I don't think he completed a pass, as I remember, until like the second quarter.
Now he operates from the shotgun. Ecubon forces George up, and now he's looking for some place to run. And George stays on his feet, is finally chased down. Chased down by Darren Woodson, but that got him back into makeable field goal range.
Yeah, we talk about Robert Griffith being the tackler in the Minnesota Viking defensive secondary. Darren Woodson is kind of the sheriff of that Cowboy defense. When someone's running around there, if he runs around long enough, Darren Woodson is eventually going to show up and put him to the ground pretty hard.
Gary Anderson, a 40-year-old kicker. I can't think of a game with two older kickers as Anderson ties it up.
The way things are going in the NFL, I don't know why you would want to be an NFL coach. I'll tell you, with its free agency and players moving all over the place, it's tough to keep a job for more than 3 years.
Jason Tucker hit down at the 20. With John Madden, Pat Summerall back at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Dallas and Minnesota tied 3-3 in this wild card contest.
Cowboys have two tight ends now. On that big run to Emmitt Smith, they were in two tight ends.
But pass was deflected as Aikman tried to drop it over the line.
Do both of these quarterbacks look a little tight to you?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, Troy Aikman, remember throwing over the head down there in the end zone. Jeff George, I don't think he's completed a pass yet, and I mean Troy's pass here, he has pretty good pass protection, and again he just throws that one right into old Jerry Ball, who's about 6'0" and can't jump higher than this.
Being blocked by Larry Allen. And let's see what happened. Aikman called another timeout, I believe.
Yeah, this is the thing, and you don't know if it's a noise or not. They said last time they played here, he couldn't hear in his helmet, when the play was being called in, so they went to the wristbands. They said if he can't hear the play now, they'll go to the wristbands again. In fact, you can see that he has a wristband on now. So what they do, instead of calling the play into his helmet, they just signal in a number. And, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then he reads the corresponding number off the wristband.
Well, if it's anything like it was in the beginning, I couldn't hear you, and I was sitting right next to you.
Yeah, and then it gets louder, when the offense has the ball, and then it gets louder on third down. So you can see that the two things they do, they'll go to the wristband on first and second downs offensively, and then they'll go to the silent count on third down when they're in shotgun.
3 wide receivers, 2nd and 10.
The Vikings are in their nickel or 5 defensive back defense.
Aikman going deep. Got somebody out there. The Rocket, Ishmael.
That's the one that they were looking for on Jimmy Hitchcock. Here's Jimmy Hitchcock out here. Now they think that when he's up tight that they can get a little move and just run right by him. And when they saw that, they had the 7-man up, and so they knew. In fact, Chan Gailey said last night, he said, when they get up there and gang up on our run, our outside receivers have to win the battles. That time, Rocket Ismail won the battle with Jimmy Hitchcock.
And got 45 yards to Viking territory. Tucker comes out in motion. Aikman's going to throw again, and does, to LaFleur. Just dropped it up the middle.
It's funny, the Cowboys talked more about working on Jimmy Hitchcock, the regular corner, than when they go 3 wide receivers, they get Robert Tate playing as a corner on the other side. He's number 28 for the Vikings, and he was a wide receiver. And so you would think that they would go to work on him, but they go 3 wide receivers, and they go to work on the other side on Jimmy Hitchcock. 2
tight end setup again. It's Lucky and LaFleur. And here's Emmett. Hit behind the line of scrimmage by Clemens. Dwayne Clemens.
That was one of the things that they were talking about is not going into Eric Williams. Here's Dwayne Clemens here. Be an athlete. Make him use his quickness instead of his strength. And that's exactly what they did there. And Clemens just gets in there, and he just comes off and splits everything.
He got inside LaFleur. 3rd and 6.
Andre Patterson, the defensive line coach for the Minnesota Vikings, was saying that, you know, when you play against a guy like Eric Williams, who's a very physical guy, a very tough guy, and if you play right into him, you're playing into his game.
And Aikman takes another timeout.
The Cowboys have had a couple problems here. I think one is with noise, hearing, and the other thing is sideline confusion. Look at this. They've had a false start, and they've used all 3 of their timeouts.
4 wide receivers. Eric Williams backs up, and we're going to get another flag.
Yeah, so this noise is getting to them. I mean, it's throwing their whole thing for a loop. I mean, it's the penalties. It's Troy Aikman not being able to hear. It's not having enough guys. They only had 10 guys on the field. I mean, they are very, very disorganized at this point.
You know, if you talk to the Minnesota people, they're all amazed that Atlanta came in here last year in the championship game and didn't have a single penalty because of the crowd noise.
They used a silent count the entire game.
Here's Aikman back to throw. Steps up into the pocket. Fires. Got a man complete. Ishmael gets down to about the 10.5-yard line. Make it the 11.5.
When they finally got it straight, they did it well, didn't they?
Yeah. If we can just get the message.
Yeah, just keep everyone on side. You see, Eric Williams gets a pretty good block there. He knocks his guy out just as Troy Aikman steps up and finds Rocket Ismail coming on across. That was the first time on this play. Was the first time that the Vikings blitzed all day, and they caught him in the blitz. They got Robert Griffith on Rocket Ismail.
LaFleur is back. It's 1st and goal. They're right at the 10.
Ismail's caught 2 passes for 70 yards.
Blitz coming. Aikman throwing. Incomplete.
That was the second blitz.
Let's go down to Ron Pitts to see how noisy it is.
All right, Pat, you know what? It is very noisy down here. In fact, it's so noisy, before the game they were handing out earplugs to the people in the stands, particularly in the end zone sections. And you notice when the Cowboys get beyond the 50 going in, the amplification of the noise really starts to pick up. Pat, back up to you.
DJ didn't hear a word you said. 2nd and goal. Aikman throws low for Ishmael. Let's go back to Ron Pitts again.
Yeah, Pat, you know, DJ Johnson is standing right next to me, and I could be saying all kind of bad things about him. I don't think he hears me.
I don't hear you at all. I think it's so loud down here, especially in between plays when they're playing music. I cannot hear words. I hope you're not saying anything.
And, you know, I think they're pumping the noise from up above, not just around the outsides from the speakers. I think it's coming from the speakers in the ceiling as well.
It's definitely got the Cowboys disoriented.
Yeah, back up to you, Pat.
Well, turn around, you guys, because there was a penalty marker on that last play.
And it was roughing the quarterback, and the call was against Jerry Ball.
Well, that's it.
You see Troyman pulls the ball down, brings it back up, and it looked like Jerry Ball hit him with his left hand right in the face.
Yes, he did. 1st and goal at the 5. Here's Emmitt Smith. And Emmitt cuts it back and into the end zone. There's Emmitt.
Tell you, he is something. I mean, Emmitt Smith, if you just keep handing the ball, good things are going to eventually happen. You can see here, he starts in the I formation, and this is where he runs the best. Right here, and he's going to get to the outside. Now, Minnesota would like to keep his shoulders from getting square. They're okay now. You see, he's still not square. He's perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. But watch when he squares up. When he gets his shoulder square, then he can make all those moves, and the Vikings aren't tackling well either.
Again, a good block by Robert Thomas that time on Rudd. McIver pulling did a good job as well.
We were talking to Emmitt Smith last night, and he was saying, you know, a couple of years ago when he had bad ankles, he couldn't make these cuts. And he says now he's back, and he said his ankles feel great, and he can do things like this. I mean, these are artificial turf moves. These are Emmitt Smith's moves. So you say, geez, he missed a lot of tackles, but Emmitt Smith, by his movement, makes you miss tackle.
Dallas on top 10-3 with 5 minutes left in the first quarter.
If you say Robert Thomas has done a good job of blocking so far. He started out the season as a linebacker. Moose Johnston was injured. They moved Robert Thomas over to the offensive side. Then he became the starter. And Emmitt Smith was telling us last night, of all the guys on the team that he works with the most, it's Robert Thomas. And you can start to see it in the game.
Jerry Ball, that was a key penalty that was called against Jerry Ball. He got his hands to Aikman's face on the way down. Toby going to kick it off. Robert Tate is back deep.
I think Troy Aikman came back after all that confusion and did well on that drive.
Yes, he did. Tate tripped up just outside the 20 and a flag on the play.
I think we talk about the intensity going up in the level. You know, as you step up and you go into playoffs and all those things, you can feel it here. Where you really feel is special teams.
Of the receiving team during the run back. 10 yards. It'll be first down.
This is what they're going to call right. Oops. That's not even close to not being holding.
No.
You can't say on that one. I don't have any idea what that official's looking at in that one. We have a great idea what that official saw on that one.
4:50 left to play in the first quarter. Dallas up 10-3. Jeff George 0 for 3. The Viking quarterback. To Robert Smith. That's the guy the Cowboys really felt they had to control. He didn't play against them when they met in regular season.
Remember last time we talked about Jeff George. Look at this. He started out 4 out of 11 for 33 yards in the first half, but he had a touchdown, remember, right before the halftime.
That was got him back into the game.
Right. Then in the second half, he was 13 for 19, 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, and it started the same way today that he started the last time they played.
Deion Sanders way left this time as George drops, fakes, gets to Smith. And Robert Smith hit from behind and hit hard. But a first down. Leon Lett bringing him down.
I know what Denny Green's thinking now is he was saying that he wants this to be a physical game. So he wants to start running at these guys. You know, instead of just letting them pass rush all the time, make them hang in there and play against the run. That time, you know, we talked about Thomas, how he was blocking. Jim Kleinsasser, who was the fullback of the Vikings, he made a good block on that play. He's a 270-pound fullback.
George to Smith. About 3.
That, you know, it's always the offensive linemen that are asking for that. You know, we say, you know, let's get settled down. Let's get settled down. And the way to get settled down is this. Just let your offensive linemen tee off on the defense, move those legs, and just run right in behind them. I think if there's anything that settles an offense down, it's the running game generally, and specifically the straight-ahead running game.
Good play by Chad Hennings on that last one. 2nd and 7. And George again gets to Smith. And Smith gets a Viking first down. Randall Godfrey went for the ride.
You know, when we had Denny Green on before the game, that was the thing that he said, that, you know, that Emmitt Smith ran well last time against you, and you're going to have problems with it. And he is having problems with it. But he also said, don't forget, we didn't have Robert Smith in the last game, and we're going to give them a pretty good dose of Robert Smith today.
And the Vikings are going to change their dose now as they run in Leroy Horde. And 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers.
That's not a bad combination. Smith being the speed guy, Horde being the power guy.
George, deep, overthrown. Intended for Chris Carter. Darren Woodson close by.
Darren Woodson had great coverage on that because Chris Carter was trying to get to the post, and Darren Woodson not only ran stride for stride with him, but he kept him out of getting into that post. Think about Darren Woodson and how good he is as a run guy, but watch him here. See, he keeps that position. That's a bracket. They're inside out on Carter. He has a good inside position, doesn't let him get into the post. And Jeff George has no place to lead him.
Same offensive setup. Horde is the deep back. George gives to Leroy Horde, and Horde can hurt you. Ekuban took him down.
And you can just feel that that's what the Vikings are doing. We had enough of that, that passing, that 0 for 3. Let's get physical. Let's make those guys hang in there. Let's get a body on a body and make them tackle our running backs, Leroy Horde and Robert Smith. Vikings were doing the same thing there. They were running some out of 3 wide receivers to spread them out to open some of those holes to run a draw in.
Here's Smith. Lunges across midfield. Time-consuming drive by the Vikings. We're down to just over a minute left in the first quarter. And Dallas 10, Minnesota 3.
And you can see what the Vikings are doing here, establishing the fact that they can control the line of scrimmage. And Dallas, by countering, they're starting to roll their defensive linemen in. As you see, Dave Campo, the defensive coordinator, they just changed their entire defensive line personnel, the Cowboys did.
Robert Smith hit behind a run blitz. Godfrey blitzed right into him.
It was that old split 6 blitz, and here's the 2 linebackers right here, Godfrey and Coakley, and you see that they're going to hit this hole. And again, you want to get back here, get penetration. You not only blitz against the passing game, but you can also blitz against the running game. And that time, Randall Godfrey blitzed right into the run.
Vikings are already over to the sideline. They're going to let the first quarter come to an end.
Look at this. Chris Carter has only been thrown to twice. They haven't thrown to Randy Moss yet. And Jake Reed 1 time.
George gets rid of it. Leroy Horde.
That's not enough.
A lot of dancing, but not much
a lot
gaining.
of dancing and gained about a yard, so they're going to have to punt. And that was Jeff George's first completion. I think what Denny Green was trying to do is just kind of slow down the momentum here, because the Cowboys had everything going and Emmitt Smith was running. They just wanted to let his defense rest a little, do that with the running game. He runs the ball 7 times, throws it 2, just to calm everything down. And I think we'll see now when the Cowboys get the ball, we'll see if it worked.
Mitch Berger back to punt. Deion Sanders deep for Dallas. High kick and a deep one, and there's a flag on the play. A Viking bounce and now a Cowboy bounce. Flag way back in the end zone.
Yeah, there was 2 flags back in the end zone. They were behind Deion, so it can't be someone leaving early or anything on the punting team.
Too many people?
I wouldn't be surprised if there were too many people. That's an area the flag would come from.
Flag goes down.
12 men. 5 yards, and the result of the play will be a first down.
Yeah, that's a key first down, as they had too many people on the field. The Cowboys.
We were talking about that's been the Cowboys' problem so far in this game is kind of sideline confusion and being able to hear.
Well, that's been a problem all year long. Penalties.
The sideline confusion.
Sideline confusion as well. You can see what a factor the penalties have been this year. They are the most penalized team in the NFL.
And a lot of these things today are just self-destructive. I mean, they're not aggressive penalties or they're not playing penalties. They're just not having enough guys in the field, have to take a timeout, having too many guys in the field, giving Minnesota a first down.
2 tight ends set up. Robert Smith, the ball carrier, surged ahead for about 4.
The Minnesota Vikings are one of those teams that you can't let sit in there for a long time because they can light it up, and
they got so
eventually they're going to.
Yep.
They haven't thrown to Randy Moss yet, which I think is a mistake. I think when you have a guy like Randy Moss, a young player only in his second year, that you have to get him the ball, and you have to get him the ball early in the game.
2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. Smith deep. George. Intended for Andrew Glover, overthrown as George had to hurry.
A lot of things Jeff George can do well. One thing that he doesn't do well is throw on the run. When he gets here and he has to move out, he is not good at that. And you can see, that ball just went right over Glover's head. And they can't get those safeties to come up. We're talking about those deep safeties staying back. And you can see they're back there 20 yards right now.
3rd and 6. Glover on the move, and here's George back to throw it. Deflected. And again, Minnesota will have to punt.
Dallas is playing very good defense. I think that part of it, you say that Minnesota hasn't gotten started, and they haven't gotten started. They haven't done anything, but the Dallas defense is a big part of that.
That was Dat Nguyen who got his hand up just in time to deflect that George pass. Berger to punt again.
Last night, Deion Sanders told us that he really likes Dave Campbell's defensive plan for this game.
Yeah.
So far, it's been pretty doggone good.
Berger. That should sail into the end zone. And the Cowboys will start from their own 20. Who took those pictures?
I don't know, but that would be fun. Either taking the pictures would be fun, or being in front of the guy taking the pictures would be fun.
Emmitt Smith gets the carry. Gets up to outside the Dallas 24.
Emmitt Smith already has about 75 yards in this game.
Yeah.
Look at this, what he's done in 3 quarters against the Vikings. 19 rushes, 212 yards. Look at this. His average is 11.2. And he scored 3 touchdowns. So I guess you could call him the Vikings nemesis.
I guess you could. You get another chance. About 2 yards short of a first, 2.5.
He was doing a good job as Flozell Adams, the left tackle of the Cowboys. Chris Dolman had been playing very well and had been active and making a lot of plays. And Flozell Adams and Larry Allen are doing a good job on that left side of keeping Chris Dolman away from the run and away from Troy Aikman.
3rd and 2. That is a big offensive line. LaFleur goes in motion. Aikman's going to throw. Drops it out to Robert Thomas, and Thomas lost the ball. The Vikings have it.
One reason the rookie Kenny Wright is playing corner is because he's a good tackler. Kenny Wright is a rookie corner, number 20. He comes up and he makes that hit on Robert Thomas. As you can see that Troy Aikman is going to go play pass, come out there, hit Thomas quickly, but watch Wright. Right there, he gets his head right on the ball, and it starts to come off, and then it was Dwayne Rudd came in and ripped it out. So it was Wright that got up and made the tackle, and then Rudd kind of made the strip. That's one thing about Dwayne Rudd. Watch him, number 57 there. He has great speed. He always gets to the ball, and he also always goes for the strip.
Anthony Bass made the recovery eventually. The Vikings get another turnover. And it's 1st and 10 inside the Dallas 25, and that's Robert Smith. First down.
Robert Smith is saying, like, I've had enough of Emmitt Smith. Did he take off on this play? Watch him here. He's just going to hit that thing the way it should be hit. and they get a blocker on a blocker. David Dixon, number 71, the right guard. Watch him right here. He makes a great block on Coakley. I mean, he gets him going back, then he puts him right on his back. That's the way to play offensive line.
1st and 10 at the 11 for Minnesota. George gives to Smith. Crosses the 10 to about the 9. A flag on the play.
Darren Hamrick came across the linebacker and really unloaded on Smith after he gained about 5 yards.
Holding. Minnesota.
Holding. Number 85. Offense. 10 yards. Repeat first down.
85 is Andrew Jordan. Backup tight end. Look at this. This is interesting. Rocket Ismail is going into the locker room. You know, of all the things I remember as a coach, and it used to be 15 yards, but I always used to say that the greatest drive stopper there is a holding penalty.
Yeah.
You know, you get things going, you get a momentum going, and boom, that flag comes out there, and you go back 10 yards.
And it says 1st and 20, and I don't know of any plays designed for that situation.
There's one.
Yeah.
That's the old Bob Greasy deal. Bob Greasy was a master of that.
Get him right back.
73.
It went the other way. But he'd always come out after a penalty with a hard count. That time Jeff George came out with a hard count, and he gets his own guy. He gets Todd Stussy there. Yep, he did too.
Yep.
I mean, those are the other things that drive you crazy as a coach.
1st and 25, and there are even fewer plays for that situation than there are for 1st and 20.
Well, that's the bad news. You're 1st and 25. The good news is you have 3 downs to get it in, so you can get, you know, chunks of 8 or 10 yards.
Deion Sanders out with Randy Moss this time. George. Screen pass. Robert Smith fell down.
He would have had something going too. They went off a play fake. You watch Robert Smith is going to fake in like a running play. You see here, then he comes out here to the left. The line comes out in front of him. He has a pretty good screen going there, and then he just fell down. It's an interesting screen off a play pass, fake the run, and try and hold those linebackers in there, and then sneak them out to the left and let the line form in front of them.
The word on Rocket Ismail is he has a sprained knee. He's in the locker room. Sprained right ankle. Beg your pardon. Here's George firing deep. Incomplete. Incomplete. He juggled it and hit the ground.
The official said he hit the ground.
Yep.
So that's one of those things that cannot be reviewed. I mean, he's saying it's down. Watch Chris Carter here. He's going by Charlie Williams with one hand.
It hit the ground.
Yeah, the ball hit the ground, but I don't know. Did he have it in his hands when it hit the ground? Yep. The ball did. I mean, it hit the ground and then bounced back into him.
That's incomplete. Pat Summerall with John Madden at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Denny Green and his Vikings trail Dallas 10-3, but they're in Dallas territory. 3rd down and 25.
The wide receiver hasn't caught a pass yet for the Vikings.
George out of the shotgun. Wide open. Wide open. There's Robert Smith. Touchdown. Nobody covered him.
Nobody covered him, and then the first guy that got over there was the free safety George Teague, and he missed the tackle. You said they're so worried about these wide receivers that they're going to cover deep, and then when you hit something underneath, you're going to have it. But still, right here, George Teague should come and make the tackle. Yep. He misses. Robert Smith makes him miss, though.
Score. Berger set to kick it off. Tucker will down it in the end zone. The Cowboys will start from the 20.
You know, if you look at this, you see why Robert Smith is open. Look here, there's 4 defenders on these 2 guys, Moss and Jake Reed. Then on the other side, there's 2 defenders here and here on Randy Moss. So you have 6 defenders covering those 3 wide receivers, which leaves 0 for Robert Smith. And that's it. You know, that's the thing. Sometimes you say, well, Randy Moss hasn't caught a pass and Chris Carter's done. But the thing that they do to the defense, they take everyone covering them and they let you have other things. And the Vikings are finding out what those other things are.
1st and 10 at their own 20 for the Cowboys. And here's Aikman. Pump fake, going deep. Incomplete. Intended for Brazel.
You know, one thing about Chris Carter, he's not only a great wide receiver, but he's very, very aware. You see him? He's making a block on Charlie Williams there, and he's looking back at Robert Smith to see where Robert Smith is and what kind of moves he's making to know what position he has to be in to block.
Emmitt Smith's the deep back. Thomas in front of him. Emmitt gets the carry, hit at the line of scrimmage, but he still gets about 3. Kylie Wong brought him down.
He really liked Kylie Wong. He's in his 2nd year, and he's playing strong side linebacker now. And here he is right here coming in from the outside, but he's a big, strong guy. He's out of Stanford, and at Stanford he was a down lineman or a pass rusher. They think eventually here with the Vikings he's going to be a middle linebacker.
He's listed at 254. And he's got the perfect shape for a middle linebacker. Remember, Ishmael left for the locker room as Aikman comes out of the shotgun and throws. Incomplete. Brazel had it, had a 1st down, dropped it.
Well, they're trying to work on Jimmy Hitchcock out here. They ran that play before. They tried to get him deep with a double move. Then they try and get him to run off now and throw in front of him.
Toby going to punt, and Randy Moss back deep for Minnesota.
He's cool, isn't he?
Yep.
I'm watching the Sugar Bowl the other night, and up pops Randy Moss. He's there on the sideline.
When he was at Florida State, he roomed with Peter Warwick.
He said he had to go down and see him play.
Golan's kick is going to be up there a long time, but Moss will have a chance.
It would be interesting to see if the Cowboys still keep those 2 safeties deep, and they are, because the running hasn't gotten out of beat. But you see how deep these safeties are? They are just worried about those 2 wide receivers.
George back to throw it. Has time. Gets it out to his fullback, Kleinsaucer, who's knocked out of bounds, but a good pickup.
There you go, Kleinsaucer. He came in here as a tight end. Remember, his number was 85, and he was a tight end. Then they move him to fullback, and Denny Green said 85 just doesn't look good as a fullback. No one's going to believe you're a fullback if you're in an 80 number. So then they put 40 on him, and now he looks like a fullback.
And Denny Green really likes him.
He's a 270-pound fullback.
Flag on the play as Robert Smith is hit behind the line by Leon Lett.
Jeff George is saying it's against the Cowboys. They still haven't completed a pass to the wide receiver, and you can see why. They're just doubling them all the time.
78 defense, 5 yards.
Leon Lett, they say, was offside. No wonder he got there so quickly.
Yeah, let's look and see how Leon Lett got there so quickly. Right there. You see him, he just gets that jump, splits the 2 blockers, and makes the tackle. The only thing about the jump is it was before the ball was snapped.
Leon, with that move, looked like the old big cat.
And he really hasn't looked like the old big cat since he's been back this year after his suspension.
1st and 10, Minnesota. George back to throw it. Has to step up into the pocket. Fires up the middle. Randy Moss gets another Viking 1st down.
Now it's a 1st down. It's the first pass for Randy Moss, and it's a first pass by a Viking wide receiver. And the thing that they do is they're going to get him in and bring him across the field. You see, instead of going up, now you hold those two guys that are doubling you, and you run away from them to the inside. You see, because that double is where? That double is for Randy Moss to go deep. If he goes in or across, there's no double on him.
Here's Smith. Almost broke it in the secondary. Tripped up by Darren Woodson, who was coming on a blitz.
Yeah, they were going to, on first down, they were going to change up, and instead of having that safety deep, they did the opposite, and they brought Darren Woodson up at the line of scrimmage like another linebacker. Darren Woodson can do that. Randy Moss caught his first pass today. There's Darren Woodson. We said that, he was up there in that linebacker position, and the thing about Darren Woodson, when he gets up in position, he can do something about it.
2nd and 7. George drops the throw. Almost wrapped up by Leon Lett. Got away from him. Myers came over to make sure he stayed down.
This is the backup line of the Cowboys. We were talking about how they rotate their guys, and you're going to see Leon Lett, still looks like the big cat right there. I mean, when he dives and makes that move, that is pretty good. Jeff George gets out of that spin. Look at Jeff George here. He goes down here, and his knees never hit the ground.
They're on top of Leon Lett.
He just rolled right over Leon Lett.
Myers came over. He's replaced Ekubon. 3rd and 10. 3 wide receivers. George down again. Chased down by Chad Hennings.
And that's one of those things, we talk about sacks and we talk about coverage sacks. This is a coverage sack. Here's Chad Hennings here. You see he's working against Jeff Christie. Comes off, and then he just makes a burst there because Jeff George had to hold the ball because there was no one open downfield.
Deion Sanders back deep for the Cowboys. Berger in to punt. One of the best. 2nd team All-Pro.
One of the best at punting and kicking off. I mean, he gives you a double dip. Red McCombs was talking to him the other day. He's worried about him because he's going to be a free agent after this season.
Sanders lets it bounce, and it bounces out of the end zone, and so Dallas will take over at the 20. Rocket.
Yeah, they're working on him there, Pat, but we had a report that he had a bad knee or sprained knee. I don't think if you have a knee or an ankle or whatever it is, I don't think you do that to him, do you?
I don't think so.
It has to be
an erroneous report.
What I think it probably was an ankle, and they probably took care of the ankle because it looks like it's retaped right there. And now because he's been gone so long, he's just stretching out. That's probably what it is. But you know that it can't be a knee when you start doing those kind of contortions.
That's exactly right.
And that ankle better be pretty well taped up and taken care of.
3 wide receivers. Aikman drops the throw and does throw to Jason Tucker on the slant. Dallas first down.
Troy Aikman has started to like Jason Tucker the last couple of weeks. He was a guy. He was the last receiver to make the team.
Yeah.
The first week of the season, he wasn't even active. And then as the guys got injured, Ernie Mills and so on, he started playing more. And then the last 2 games, he's kind of become one of Troy's go-to guys.
He's played a lot. Played in Europe. Here's Emmitt Smith. And Emmitt can't find any place to go. Wayne Clements and John Randall.
That's the thing that the Vikings talked about all week is staying in their lanes. Like as the ball starts here, you stay in these lanes back here for the cutback. And that's the thing, that everyone stays in their lanes. Everyone waits for them to come back. That's what they did. You surround them, and then you always keep leverage on them. That's Foge Fazio, the defensive coordinator of the Vikings, and that's what he talked about. Take your gap and maintain leverage on Emmitt Smith.
3 wide receivers for the Cowboys. Aikman to throw it. Whips it up to LaFleur. And LaFleur down at about the 35 by Kenny Wright.
You know, both these defenses are very deep conscious. They're not letting you have any big plays, and you talk to them, and that's the thing that you want to eliminate, but you always want to eliminate that. So both these passing games thus far, for the most part, have had to be the underneath stuff.
Ishmael is back.
Now with Ishmael back, then maybe you can get away from that underneath stuff.
3 wide receivers to the right. Ishmael's the inside man. 2 to the left. No blockers, and Aikman lofts it downfield right through the hands of Chris Warren.
That's the matchup that he looks for. He gets 5 guys out, empty backfield. He looks to see who is the linebacker on. That time he had Chris Warren. He was on Dwayne Rudd, although Rudd had pretty good coverage against him. Although not so good. He was beaten by a step or 2. But Dwayne Rudd could run also, but Chris Warren did get him by a step or 2. But that's what they look for. They get those 5 receivers spread out, look to see which guy the linebacker is taking, and throw to that guy.
That was a perfect throw, too. That was right there. Going. Moss signals fair catch. Makes it at the 17. First down, Minnesota. 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. The handoff is to Robert Smith. Crosses the 20 to the 23. Kavika Pittman took him down. Ishmael. I hope he doesn't have any fragile parts.
Well, they got to get everything stretched out, you know, to get. I mean, when you run that fast, I never had any of those problems. Did they ever have to do stuff like that to you?
No.
I mean, that's only if you run real fast.
10-10 tie. That looks like. Then you got to go play.
And then Michael Irvin's down there talking to him. When Rocket stands up, he started out, he was 5'11", Pat.
Yeah.
And after they finished stretching him out, 6'2". No, 6'2".
Smith. First down, Minnesota. But he's walking around and jumping and kicking, getting ready for the band show.
Well, that's how you get open, by doing all that kind of stuff.
Deion's
he looks like
around.
he's limping a little there. One of the things that the Vikings wanted to do was a run at Deion Sanders. That's the first tackle I remember him being in on.
Chris Carter, as only he can do.
Well, there was a double coverage out there, and this is the thing that we're going to see. Jeff George could throw this thing perfectly, where you split it between the short guy and the deep guy. And Chris Carter got by. It's a rotating zone. The corner was up short. The safety, George Teague, is coming over deep, and Chris Carter hit him in that. It got in that hole. See right there, the hole between Charlie Williams right there and George Teague.
The play on the field, ruled a completed catch, is to be reviewed.
It's going to be reviewed. A challenge. You saw the ball. The point of the ball, I believe, hit the turf.
That's Chris Carter's first catch.
Yep.
Jeff George is thinking, if I'm going to get the ball to Chris Carter, they're going to double him or roll to him all the time. I'm going to have to beat that roll, and that's what he did. Charlie Williams kind of missed him on the bump, and he hit him in between there.
Here comes the referee, Jerry Austin, over to review. The Cowboys have challenged.
And, you know, because this is the last 2 minutes, it's initiated in
So
the
it isn't a
replay
Cowboy
booth.
challenge.
No. This is the last 2 minutes. Last 2 minutes of the half, last 2 minutes of the game. Plus, the Cowboys couldn't have done it anyway because they have no timeouts. I don't know at that angle.
At that angle, you can't tell.
No, you can't tell because his body's between the camera and.
At that angle, you can't tell. Let's look at another angle. This angle, you can tell. Ball hits the ground.
I don't know. You think so?
I think it did.
I think it looked like to me that he had control of it all the way.
Think so?
Yeah, I do. I do. The thing is, he has to have control of the ball and both feet in or a knee down. So that's not the issue. The knee was down, so it doesn't make any difference where the feet are. See, once that's the old one knee equals 2 feet. See, once that knee goes down, it doesn't make any difference if that left foot is out. So
how about
that's
the other
okay.
knee?
You only need one knee. Remember, Art McNally years ago told us that one knee equals 2 feet. So the knee being in bounds is okay. That's not the issue.
Jerry
the issue
Austin
has to be if he had control or not.
I don't think he did. I think the ball hit the ground.
The important thing is what Jerry Austin did.
Yep.
And it's the booth that called it, again, because it's the last 2 minutes.
Not our booth.
No, the replay booth.
Reviewing the play, the pass is ruled incomplete. The ball touches the ground. Second down, 10, 30-yard line.
You were right. You saw the same thing that you saw, that the ball did hit the ground.
That's 2 of those that have been very close for Chris Carter.
Yeah, but that was his first review. The first one was very close. That was in the end zone.
You're right.
And that wasn't reviewed. And then that one right there was reviewed and overturned.
And again, it was challenged by the booth because it's in the last 2 minutes and Dallas had no timeouts left.
And then Deion Sanders is back in. He was out on that last play.
We're talking.
2nd and 10, 1:21.
That's Deion's right ankle get rolled up on right there, and that's why he wasn't in on that last play. He went out for one play, and now he's back in.
10-10 tie with 1:21 left in the first half. George back to throw it. Pumps. Jeff George chase, and down he goes from behind by Michael Myers.
See, and he was looking out here. He was trying to throw to his right, and again, they're going to double the whole time. They're going to keep a safety deep there. They're not going to let Randy Moss get deep. And you can see that's what Jeff George sees. He doesn't have anything with his tight end, so that's how he got caught from behind by Myers. But that's what he was looking for. He was looking to that side, and Michael Myers caught him from behind.
3rd and 12.
Already been sacked 3 times.
Here's Smith. He can go. Got a first down. Robert Smith. Figured he'd be a big factor.
This is the best I've seen Robert Smith play. Now the Vikings have a couple of timeouts, so they can be thinking field goal here. Now they got the first down. They can get a couple completions here and get a shot at a field goal before halftime.
Coming up on the Visa halftime report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris will talk live with Marshall Faulk of the St. Louis Rams, and they'll have first half analysis. Plus, our Fox Sports ticker will have up to the second stats. That's all coming up on the Visa halftime report.
Marshall Faulk, he was probably in this last year was the best deal. I mean, the Rams picked him up for a 2nd and a 5th. I'll tell you, anytime you can get a guy like Marshall Faulk for a 2nd and a 5th, you have made a great deal.
And he was just named, Marshall Faulk was, to the first team All-Pro.
And he should be.
Yeah.
He's the complete package. He can run it, he can catch it, he can block, and I think Marshall Faulk is really the definition of a pro.
Randall Cunningham doing some throwing on the sideline.
I don't think that means anything at all. Here, we have 36 seconds before halftime.
George back. Firing deep. Randy Moss got it. Flag on the play. as Moss backed into the end zone. But I think maybe he might have pushed off.
I don't know about that because the official that threw the flag also signaled touchdown.
Yes, he did. Yes,
and I think he's going to call it against the Dallas Cowboys.
He did. He did. Kevin Mathis.
If Kevin Mathis is right here, and you see the double coverage, you see the safety deep, and he's just going to wait and wait and wait. And I don't know that, I guess he does push there. I mean, it looked like contact there. It's a touchdown anyway.
Yep.
Kevin Mathis comes over. Charlie Williams was a short guy.
The Vikings lead by a touchdown.
I think Randy Moss, I would say that you throw 2 deep passes a quarter to him. That would be 8 per game.
Why not?
And if you did that, you're going to have 4 or 5 big plays. You're either going to get a touchdown like that or you're going to have a pass interference. To me, this guy is the most dangerous player in all of football. And they've had him doubled the whole time.
Arguments.
He started like he was going to come back, and then he made a decision. He saw that guy with those big arms there.
Yeah.
Saw the guy with big old strong arms out there.
Viking hat on.
And he said, I'm going to jump up there because I think that guy can not only catch me, but pull me up.
You're not going to drop me.
Remember last week what he did? It was a great thing. He caught a touchdown pass, and there was a kid in the end zone in a wheelchair, and he went over and handed the ball to the kid. Randy Moss, I think, I'm not starting a team or anything, and I don't mean that, just one touchdown, you get all excited, but for 2 years, I've really felt that this kid is something really special, and I would think right now, if I were starting a team, forgetting quarterbacks, if I could pick one player, I would start it with Randy Moss.
Well, I don't think too many people would argue with you. Anderson is going to kick off instead of Berger.
Now, it has to be some kind of trick kickoff then. He's not going to go deep.
Bounces along the ground. Fielded by Neufeld. And he heads all the way across the field. I don't know if he got out of bounds, but the clock will stop. Coming up on the Visa halftime report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris. We'll talk live with Marshall Faulk of the St. Louis Rams, and they'll have first half analysis. Plus our Fox Sports ticker will have up to the second stats. That's all coming up on the Visa halftime report.
How about that Tennessee play yesterday? That's probably what Denny Green was thinking about, and not having Berger kick the ball deep and having Gary Anderson go in there. That he doesn't want anything to change the momentum because the Vikings have kind of gotten the momentum back now.
22 seconds left in the first half. Aikman out of the shotgun. He fires underneath to Ishmael. Out of bounds at midfield.
Well, that stretching did well. Rocket Ismail almost ran right into Jerry Jones. You have to think now of those timeouts that the Dallas Cowboys lost or wasted in the first quarter. That they could obviously use now. I think they're going to need one more pass completion of about 15 to 20 yards to get in field goal position.
Might need a little bit more for Eddie Murray.
Okay, 25 yards.
Okay. Aikman from the gun.
That's not it.
Brazel.
I think Brazel was lifting up like he caught the ball, trying to make the official think he caught. You didn't want to catch that ball.
No, he didn't.
You have no timeouts left, and the ball was only thrown about 2 or 3 yards. So you want an incomplete pass in that situation. In fact, you wonder why Troy Aikman even threw it there.
12 seconds left. Aikman out of bounds, short of the first down, but at the 40. Jason Tucker. That may be enough for first as they put it down.
See, now he needs one more completion.
Yep.
I would say he has to get inside the 30 and feel pretty good about Eddie Murray. Although they're gonna try it right now.
But this is Toby going.
Yeah, I mean because they would need another completion to get in Murray's field goal range.
Goen has a much stronger leg. 58 yards this would have to be. Goen got it there, but not good. Enough leg, but not enough arrow.
And then the Vikings are going to get the thing because they're going to get one more shot here because it's a change of possession, automatic timeout.
3 seconds left.
Right, and the ball goes to the spot of the kick, not the line of scrimmage. So they can get in here and fling one down there. And with Randy Moss, that's not a bad fling. And Jeff George, it was just interesting. Yeah, that we were talking about it. He said that he can throw the ball right now. He said he used to be like 85, and he said now his distance is 82. So if he can throw the ball 82 yards, they can have a shot at a jump ball in the end zone.
Well, they're going to take a shot. Carter, Moss, and Matthew Hatchett all come to the right.
And that'll be about 60-some yards to the end zone.
Here's George. He's going to have time. He's going to overthrow everybody. That's the end of the first half. We are back at the Metrodome where the Vikings lead by a touchdown. John, your impressions and thoughts on the first half?
Well, that the Vikings are playing okay, and I think they can play better, and I think they will play better in this game. And the Cowboys didn't play very smart. They just self-destructed. I mean, they had everything. They used all their timeouts. They had fumbles. They had, they couldn't hear. They, had too many men on the field and gave them. I mean, they just self-destructed. I mean, they should be a better team than this, and they should be playing better than this. But in this first half, they just shot themselves in the foot.
Let's have a look now, John, at the first quarter statistics.
Well, you can see this is what I was talking about here. I mean, they had everything going. They were running the ball real well. The Vikings hadn't even started. You look there, the Vikings didn't have any passing yards in the first quarter, but it's that turnover. I mean, they get the turnover, and then the Minnesota Vikings get 3 points off it. Then you look in the second quarter, they had another turnover, and the Vikings got 7 points off it. And then the Vikings finally got their passing game going and got 100 yards, because what they're doing is the Cowboys are doubling the receivers. So then Jeff George started going to some of the underneath stuff, but then he finally decided that you still have Randy Moss here. We may as well chunk it deep to him.
One more half, and one of the teams goes home. The other goes to face the St. Louis Rams. Tate back deep for Minnesota. And Toby Goen set to kick it off. Deep kick. Chases Tate all the way to the rear of the end zone. Let's go down to Ron Pitts.
Thanks a lot, Pat. I talked to Coach Chan Ganley. He said, we just got to not turn the ball over. That's the biggest problem. And on defense, we got to wrap up, make tackles, and start getting the turnovers. As far as the run game, he said they're bringing up 8 men in the box. They're forcing us to pass a lot more, especially on first down. We just got to turn those into big plays. One quick note from Joe Avisano, the special teams coach. He said, my punter is doing a great job, great kicks, and putting the ball deep in enemy territory. Let's go back up to Pat and John.
All right, Ron, thank you very much. First down, Minnesota at their own 20. Fine Saucer and Smith, and this is Robert Smith. Hit behind the line and taken down. And let's go down to DJ Johnson.
In the first half, Denny Green said Emmitt Smith hit them with a couple of long runs. But once his defense settled down, they eliminated the big plays and they played solid defense. On offense, he says the passing game was grounded because too many times penalties put them in obvious passing situations. 1st and 10, 1st and 15, 1st and 20. He says in the second half, they need to get consistent drives going, eliminate the penalties, keep the ball 1st and 10, 2nd and 5 or less, and run their game plan from there. Pat.
Thanks, DJ. 2nd and 10. Smith again. Got about 5.
You look at Jeff George today, he's only thrown 33% of the time to his wide receivers, none to his tight ends. 67% to his running backs, and the rest of the season he was only throwing 14% of the running backs. But I think we showed earlier why that's true. I mean, they're just doubling Moss and Carter all the time, and the things that they're going to give you are the running backs and those kind of things.
Third and
Call it
4.
cluster.
4 wide receivers. Carter moves to his left. They throw right to Randy Moss, covered by Deion Sanders. And Deion slung him to the ground, but after he got a first down.
That's the matchup, as you said. There's 3 receivers on the other side. Only Randy Moss and Deion Sanders back here. Deion Sanders was playing off. Jeff George sees that, just gives it to Randy Moss. Randy Moss knows he has to make a first down. He tries to make a little move there. It doesn't work, so he just lowers his shoulder and runs right over Deion and gets a first down.
1st and 10, Minnesota. Here's Smith. Hit at the line of scrimmage. Randall Godfrey got the penetration.
I think that somewhere the Vikings are going to have to start. I know what Denny Green was saying, that you don't want those 2nd and long and 3rd and long, but somewhere to get that now, they're ganging up on his first down run. So he's going to have to start. He's going to have to start throwing the ball on first down.
That would seem logical. Sanders comes out on Carter this time. Here's Jeff George. All kinds of time, all kinds of room. Throw it for Moss. Incomplete. He had it. Deion Sanders overran it.
Did you see what happened to Kavika Pittman?
Yes.
He went to go up in the air, and they just took him out. And this is, watch Kavika Pittman. He's going to come in here, and now he's just blocked right there. And he goes up. He goes ankles overhead, and that gave Jeff George the room to get to the outside.
You know who threw that block? Robert Smith.
Yeah. Robert Smith is playing as well today as I've ever seen Robert Smith play.
3rd and 8. George out of the gun. Coming out, incomplete. Knocked down by Dadwin.
I think Jeff George could have stayed in the pocket that time. There was a little pressure coming from his left, and he looked at that pressure, and I think it was more imagined than real. I think that he could have stayed in there, because we talked about earlier, when he starts to run, he does not throw well on the run. And he's a pocket passer and a pure passer and all those things. And I think he could have stayed in the pocket on that one.
Mitch Berger back to punt, and Deion Sanders deep for the Cowboys. The defense for Dallas did their job. Berger kicked it away from Deion and almost kicked it in the stands. Well, the weather in Minneapolis has been unseasonably warm, at least as long as we've been here. Ebenezer Ekuban trying to stay warm on the bike on the sideline. 1st and 10, Dallas. 3 wide receivers. And Emmitt Smith is deep. Aikman back to throw it. Incomplete. Brazel.
The Cowboys have done a good job on John Randall. You know, you would think that if anyone was going to be raising havoc in there on the pass rush, on that time he was on Everett MacGyver, and you're just going to see him right here. And again, he's trying to get in the middle where Troy Aikman's throwing, and MacGyver does a good job of just keeping him out, and Troy Aikman is able to step and make the throw to that side.
When you mentioned John Randall, that's the first time he's been mentioned today. Fake to Emmitt Smith. Aikman. Pass complete to Ismail. And the Rocket.
6'2".
He's all stretched out and stretches some yardage out of that one.
And he's the guy, he's a deep threat. I mean, he's the guy that you can do this to. That's Robert Tate that is playing him there. And Robert Tate is a guy that until a few weeks ago was a wide receiver. The Vikings ran out of defensive backs and moved him to defensive backs. Here they are blocking John Randall again. That time it was Big E, Eric Williams, coming down on him.
Two tight ends, Mike Lucky on one side, LaFleur on the other. They fake and going deep is Aikman. Incomplete, no flag.
I think Rocket hurt himself there. It looked like he pulled up right there at the end. Did you see that?
Well, you saw him hit himself on the head. That means I need some help.
This is what he did earlier. That was on Jimmy Hitchcock, and that's when he could run. And here he hit that out pattern. And then on this one, it looked like, you see, it's a little double move that he's making, and it looked like right there he pulled up.
Something's wrong.
Well, something that got stretched earlier didn't get stretched or didn't stay stretched.
Brazel's taking his place. Split wide left. Here comes the Minnesota blitz. Aikman throws up the middle. Got a man. Tucker takes it to the Viking 21.
And the important thing, when you have a receiver who is doing well, and we've talked about Jason Tucker had been an NFL Europe guy, the last receiver to make the team. Guys gets hurt, then he starts playing more and more, and the key is that Troy Aikman likes him.
31-yard pickup.
And here's another pickup. They picked up the blitz well, and the guy that picked it up, picked up the blitz, was Robert Thomas. Thomas has been playing a quiet, very good game today.
Two tight end setup. That's LaFleur in motion. Pitch back to Emmitt Smith. And Emmitt is cut down behind the line of scrimmage by Kylie Wong.
Yeah, we were talking about Tucker and how he just made the team. He was the last wide receiver to make the team. The first week of the season, he was inactive. Then weeks 2 through 15, he only caught 12 passes. But in the last 2 weeks of the season, he had 11 receptions, 250 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And that's just carrying over into here, into the playoffs.
The Rocket is back. 2nd and 16. Aikman fake. Here comes the blitz, and Aikman's got to get rid of it. And the pass is caught.
That's not bad. That is a heck of a play by Troy Aikman.
A flag on the play.
Whether that thing went down or not, because Robert Griffith was coming on a blitz. Troy Aikman was running away from him.
81.
Called against Ismail.
Second down.
Rocket Ismail is out here. This is a penalty. He's against Robert Tate. Again, you see him make that little push there.
Yep.
And then come back. Troy Aikman was running for his life to get away from Robert Griffith and made that pretty good throw. I think what happened, I think after that Randy Moss touchdown, I think both coaches probably complained to the officials about pushing off, and they called it on the Cowboys that time.
2nd and 26. Aikman drops. Outside of Thomas. A play that he turned it over on earlier. Stopped by Kenny Wright.
And Kenny Wright was the guy that made the tackle earlier, and then Dwayne Rudd stripped him on that turnover. And remember, Kenny Wright is a rookie who didn't start early in the season, and the reason that they finally put him in there is they felt that they need a tackler at that corner position, and he's a good tackler.
3rd and 21. Chris Warren in the game. Remember before when they got Warren matched up on a linebacker, and Aikman hit him when he was open?
And he dropped the ball, and that's the matchup that they look for in this situation.
Here's Aikman. And here he is deep to Warren again.
And that was the same thing. The other time, the one that Warren dropped when the first half was on the left side, this one was on the right side. And it was Chris Warren against Dwayne Rudd. And this is the matchup they look at. You know, where is a linebacker? Here's a linebacker. Here's Rudd. Here's on Warren. He's going to run a corner. And that ball been thrown to him, that would have been a completion, because that was the second time in this game that he beat Dwayne Rudd and didn't get either one of them. One was his fault. One was Troy Aikman's fault.
Toby going back to punt it. Randy Moss deep from Minnesota. Going, sends it straight up almost. The Cowboys are going to down this one at about the 1. Now they say touchback. And they'll take it out to the 20. Jerry Austin is the referee. He's going to make an announcement, I believe, to let us know about what they can do and can't do when they down the ball, as the Cowboys just did. Well, maybe he's not going to make an announcement. Well,
On the punt, the man who knocked the ball back was legal, but the second man had been in the end zone and had not reestablished both feet in the field of play. That makes it a touchback.
well, let's look at it again.
What they're saying is this first touch here was legal. The second touch is he can do it if he gets back in the field, but he has to have both feet down and establish himself back in. He caught the ball in the air,
Right.
so he had to establish the fact that he was back
That's
in.
Robert Smith. And Smith hammers it up outside the 35. 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. 17-10 Minnesota. How long can you stand this?
Well, until you get to be 6'4" or 6'5". Rocket Ismail comes in as a Rocket. He'll go out of this game as Harold Carmichael.
Here is Smith again. Darren Hambrick.
There's Chris Dolman, the old vet that played for the Vikings, for Atlanta, for the 49ers. His 15th year, one of 4 guys to have over 150 sacks. Said he's playing with a hernia now, and this is going to be his last year. He wanted to come back one more time because of all the things that he's done. The one thing he hasn't is won a championship.
He said there were 2 places he would come back, here or San Francisco. Here's Jeff George back to throw. Fires up the middle to Randy Moss. Randy Moss shakes one tackler and gets across the Dallas 40 to about the 38.
And they found out what they can do to Randy Moss. We talked about how they're doubling him all the time. Here's Deion Sanders here, and they're always going to have help over the top. But with that help over the top, the one place that he can get is the middle of the field in those ends. Last year, they didn't do this to Randy Moss, and this is a big addition. And when Randy Moss, with him, you can throw it anywhere. I mean, you can throw it high, he'll go get it. You can throw it high and behind him like that one. You can throw it anywhere to that guy.
George to Smith. To the 35. And across.
One thing I like about Ray Sherman and his play calling, the offensive coordinator of the Vikings, is that when things aren't going well, he goes right back to the run and reestablishes his offensive line, reestablishing, dominating that offensive line, and then bringing things back under control. They start to get out of control a little, and then boom, right to the running game. And that has been very effective today.
George, flea flicker coming if he has time, and he doesn't.
Well, I don't know that he didn't throw that one away.
It sure looked like it did.
I think he dodged one on this, because you're going to see the flea flicker here, and the Cowboys don't go for it. They come on a delayed blitz, and he just throws that one away to avoid the rush.
Darren Hambrick was the first Cowboy there. Third down.
And the good thing about a blitz on a flea flicker is you're going to have man-to-man coverage. The bad thing is you got a blitzer in your ear hole.
Moss split wide to the right. Horde's the deep back. Screen pass coming, and it's set up to Horde, and Horde has the first down. Dat Wynn to trip him up.
Randall McDaniel shows why he's an all-pro. You're going to see the screen pass where he's going to get out. You see, you let the guy come, and then you come down the line, and then you make the block. Watch Randall McDaniel. It'll be a 2-man screen out here. See, you block, let him go. Now watch him right here. You see, he's going to come and crap right there. That's what creates the hole. I wonder what those defensive backs think when they see a screen coming and seeing a guy like Randall McDaniel coming out. With that shield on.
For a place to get out of the way.
Can't dig a hole in turf.
Here's Smith. Bodies flying around. Smith still got 2 or 3. Randall Godfrey on the bottom of the pile.
This guy's made the Pro Bowl 11 years in a row. I mean, I think he's made the Pro Bowl more than anyone.
Yeah, he has.
And you wonder how you get that much wet on a thing. It has to be from what you produce.
Yeah, that's
and
correct.
it's usually, like the heat goes out your head. You know that. Well, if you got a helmet on, then the heat can't come out your head. So then it comes back down into your face mask.
Second down. George gets it back to Robert Smith, who's wrapped up. Pick up a couple.
Ooh, they want a flag on that. Alonzo Spellman, they're saying you're supposed to stop when the whistle blew. Robert Smith, the thing I like about him today is he has taken the ball inside and taken it in there tough. Usually, he'll bounce out a lot and do those type of things. Today, there's no bounce out in Robert Smith.
115 yards and 26 carries. I don't remember seeing him run out of bounds either.
No, he hasn't even gotten close to the sideline. That's what I said. He's been keeping everything inside today.
George out of the shotgun. Looks right. Throws right. Incomplete. Jake Reed, the intended. In field goal range for Anderson, certainly.
Even Jake Reed, we see the here. They're doubling whoever plays. I mean, they are not going to let the Cowboys come into this game, and they are not going to let the wide receivers beat them. That's a game plan. And you can see that everywhere they go, they have a double on them.
Except for Randy Moss. That's a good game plan.
Yeah, but when you got the double, I mean, you have to do something, too.
38 yards away is Anderson. Kick is up. And it's good. Berger to kick it off. Deep for Dallas, Ogden and Tucker. Tucker the deepest. Fielded by Tucker on a short hop. Just did get back to the 20. You have actually done that.
Yeah, I did it because I wanted to see. I watched guys sit on a bucket and ice fish, and we're up here in Minnesota. We did this.
Yeah.
I want to see what that's all about, and I went out and sat on a bucket and ice fish.
That's Emmitt Smith. Doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage.
And I'll tell you, we caught them and cleaned them and cooked them and ate them before we got back to town.
Did you get any too big to get up through the ice?
No. They all fit through because they have a guy there that makes a hole with a machine thing.
Jerry Jones.
You can see that he's concerned. I mean, 20 to 10 and his team not playing well, and know that he had an opportunity. I mean, they missed so many opportunities and shot themselves in the foot in the first half.
Aikman to Emmett. Not much.
They have that thing down now. He's trying to run from that 3 wide receiver set, and he's done it 4 times and only gained 5 yards because what it does is frees up Robert Griffith, and they're able to play man-to-man on these receivers. And other than Rocket Ismail and Jason Tucker once in a while, they're not worried about big plays.
They have 3 wide receivers split left this time. And Aikman drops and has time. And incomplete. Kenny Wright. And Aikman's upset.
Well, I think it was a Jeff Ogden. He's trying to throw it to Ogden, and Ogden fell down. You watch Ogden, he's going to come out here. He's number 85. And you're just going to see that he has the 3 guys here. Ogden falls down right there, and I think what Aikman was mad about, it looked like Ogden was grabbed, that he didn't fall down, that he was pulled down. That was Kenny Wright who was on him. I think Kenny Wright pulled him down.
Randy Moss back deep for Minnesota. Goins kick will be up there for a while. Moss. Fair catches it. 1st and 10 Minnesota. They lead by 10. Jeff George going for more. Up the middle to Moss.
They can get that all day, and they have. Every time they have run that in, they've gotten it because they know that they're going to double Randy Moss deep, and you can see the safety's going to be over. See, they make the fake there. He has good pass protection, and look at that hole for Randy Moss. You see his double again, his help is back here deep. So if he doesn't run deep, then he really doesn't have any help. And so if you don't run deep, the place to run is in.
Here's George to Smith. Smith got about 6, out of bounds.
There you got a good block by his big fullback, Jim Kleinsasser. We talked about Kleinsasser, the rookie who was a tight end. They changed him to number 40, and he made the block that really freed Robert Smith on that play. And he said he's going to make it right here. See him think, and he just takes his guy down, takes his outside leg. That's what you teach. Get that outside leg, and that gives Robert Smith the outside.
2nd and 3, make it. Here comes the blitz. And the blitz works as Darren Woodson ran right into Robert Smith.
I think you find most of the time when Darren Woodson does come on a blitz, he's going to run into the ball carrier because he not only has a good feel for blitz and blitzing, but he has a good feel for making the tackle after he does it.
And that's the end of the 3rd quarter. Well, I'm not sure.
Well, what's that stuff you spray on walls? It's not asbestos. It used to be asbestos. Yeah, like stucco. The guy stuccoed his head. He just had white stucco on one side and blue stucco on the other side.
Here comes the blitz again, and George has the screen called, and it's perfect. Smith to the 10, inside the 10 to the 15.
They caught him in a perfect defense. Yep. They had the blitz and the 2 safeties deep, so it was everything that you would want to run a screen against. You get him to commit, and then you have the safeties deep. Watch, here's Robert Smith here. They get in the shotgun. He goes like he's going to block, then he's going to sneak down. But look how deep those safeties are. That lets your line get out there in front. Todd Stussy gets one, the tight end gets one, and Robert Smith gets darn near to the 10-yard line.
And George Teague makes the tackle.
You know, and that was the first time the Cowboys blitzed all day on 3rd down.
Horde replaces Smith. And Leroy Horde to the 5.
And they got the Cowboys on their heels now.
They're trying to put it away.
Look at this, Robert Smith, 27 carries, 179 yards, but he's also had, that's touches for yards, because part of that was the reception, that screen. Then remember the one earlier where no one guarded him and he caught one out in the flat?
2nd and 1 at about the 6.
This is a good time to throw to Randy Moss down here in the bottom.
Horde behind the line of scrimmage, but he got back to the 5.
You wonder what Deion Sanders has been doing. He's lined up on the right side and the left side about half the time. And he's lined up on all of the receivers and played them all differently. He's not using his, after he got hurt that time, he's not bumping as much. He's been playing off more in the 2nd half, but he's played all the receivers. That last time he was on Randy Moss, and now he's going on Randy Moss again over on the other side.
3rd and 1.
And there's no one down here. No. The Cowboy defense is confused here.
They're yelling at each other.
Vikings could have a free one.
Yep. Touchdown. Chris Carter. There was confusion.
They've been confused a big part of the day. Chris Carter, what a pro he is.
Oh, boy.
Has a bad ankle. I was at practice Friday. He didn't even practice at all. Did very little yesterday, but Chris Carter's a gamer and has been for a long time. Jeff George says, with this team, I got all pros outside. I got all pros running back, offensive lineman. All I have to do is be a guy. The Cowboys never did get set in their proper defense on that play.
No, they didn't. Dion went left, and they never got covered on the right. Flag on this extra point.
And Jeff George sees it, and the guy that he's looking for down there is Chris Carter. And how long has he been scoring touchdowns?
Flag still down against Dallas.
That'll go on the kickoff.
Yeah. Berger doesn't need much help.
Foul. Leverage on the defense, climbing on the other player to gain height. The extra point is good. 15 yards will be penalized on the kickoff.
With the 15-yard penalty for the personal foul on the extra point, Berger will kick off from his own 45. He didn't need any help.
This is a good situation. I don't think the Vikings will do it here, but for an onside kick, if they have the game under control, there's no reason to. That thing went right through the uprights, I think.
It hit the mascot.
Yeah, we were talking about the confusion on that last play to Chris Carter. Just watching here, Chris sees it, and he's saying, get away, and he's looking out where he's going to go. Williams isn't sure where he goes. Teague isn't sure where he goes. The only guy that's sure where he goes is Chris Carter, and he motioned to Jeff George. Jeff George saw the whole thing and threw it to him.
And got it out there in a hurry. The winner of this to face the Rams next week. It looks like it'll be Minnesota.
Yeah, you see the old kicker there going for the snack. Mitch Berger needs some energy for this one.
Aikman wheels it outside. That's Brazel.
Now that's what a kicker and a punter. See, he has to have a kicking shoe and a punting shoe. That's Mitch Berger's. And then what you do in one of the shoes, you keep your snack.
Your
and
candy.
So he has a candy bar in there.
In a Ziploc bag.
Cummins, I think he's trying to bait Eric Williams there.
That's the wrong guy, I think.
Well, he was fired up last night.
Incomplete, intended for Brazel. Was there.
And they thought they could work on Jimmy Hitchcock, and he was a guy. And early in the game, they had a chance to get a few things on him. And since then, I think Jimmy Hitchcock has really settled down. And the thing that surprised me is that they have Robert Tate out here, who's only been a defensive back for 3 or 4 weeks, and they really haven't gone to work on him today.
They're just about in a position the Vikings are where they've taken Emmitt Smith out of the game. They got to have more. Aikman to Ishmael, first down.
Yeah, and that's the kind of game that they want to get in, is make the Cowboys one-dimensional and then just go after Troy Aikman. And the one thing that he has now is he doesn't have Emmitt Smith. I mean, he can still run a little, but Rocket Ismail becomes his big guy. Because we're talking about 17 points here, and we're talking about having to score 3 scores.
And to a lesser degree, Jason Tucker, who's come up with some big plays the last couple of weeks. Blitz coming, that's Emmitt. Well, they haven't taken him out of the game. Emmitt Smith.
Yeah, but they still need.
By Dwayne Rudd, excuse me.
They still need 3 scores in 11 minutes. I mean, they can mix in a run here and there, but they need a quick strike and a quick score. Now you're going to have a big hole like this when you catch him in a blitz and you catch him in a stunt. That's not a bad thing to do as a change of pace. But eventually, the Cowboys need a quick strike here.
1st and 10 at the Minnesota 48. 3 scores is a tall order. Here's Aikman to throw. Up the middle, Emmitt Smith. And Emmitt picks up another first down at the Minnesota 35, 34 maybe.
I think the Viking defense in the second half had tightened up, And then they got that 17-point lead, and they've loosened up a little. And you know, sometimes that happens. You get that lead, and you start the celebration too soon, and the guys, instead of being, you know, up there and intense and tight, they think it's recess. And your defense is playing like recess, and that's what the Vikings are doing now.
Still 10.5 minutes left. Chris Warren is the deep back. Aikman up the middle to LaFleur. And LaFleur to the Viking 20. Carrying 2 or 3 defensive backs with him. Another Dallas first down.
Because the Cowboys are getting a good pass protection here now for Troy Aikman, and they have good mixture. I mean, they're mixing the run in, they're mixing the screen pass in, they're mixing the pass to the tight ends. But again, you know, at some point they have to get this thing going quickly, because they have to get in, get an onside kick, and get the ball back again.
Aikman lofts it to Tucker. Knocked away. Good play by Tate.
I'll tell you, that Robert Tate is a competitor.
Yes,
I was watching him Friday in practice, and he was playing on Matthew Hatchett, and every play was darn near a fight. And Hatchett told Coach Denny Green, he said, "You created a monster with this guy."
Yeah.
Because they liked his aggressiveness and they liked his speed, and he was a good special teams player and a tough guy. In fact, he's from Denny Green's hometown in Harrisburg. Everyone accused him of picking up Tate and doing all these things with him. He hurt himself.
Hurt his arm,
play,
yeah.
Because Denny Green knew him since he was a junior in high school.
Smith crosses the 20 to about the 18. Tate jammed his shoulder just a bit. One of the Cowboys we were talking to last night, we mentioned Robert Tate, and you said he used to be, the answer was he used to be a wide receiver. Now he's a defensive back. You know he's a good athlete.
Yeah. And then the thing is, the reason that they thought he could be a good defensive player, because he played so well on special teams,
right,
and was such a tough guy and good tackler.
3rd and long. Aikman up the middle. Fumble! The ball goes into the end zone and out. And that'll come all the way back out to where the fumble occurred. It was Tucker. Maybe not.
And to say it's a touchback, it'll come out to the 20. You see, Tucker has the ball here, and then he fumbles. He's the last one to control it, and then it goes back out of the end zone. No Minnesota Viking comes up with control.
The rule is, if it goes through the end zone, it's a touchback. And that's why the Vikings have the ball at the 20.
The Cowboys could have made it interesting there, because we could have had a score and then an onside kick. And now all the Vikings are going to try and do is run more time off the clock. That's what Ed McDaniel does here. He's the guy that is going to come in the picture. He's not there yet, and right there he comes in and punches the ball out. And we said how Dwayne Rudd was good at doing that. Ed McDaniel is too. I mean, both those linebackers are a little undersized, but they have great speed to get to the ball, and they really have a feeling. Remember how Lawrence Taylor used to have such a great feeling for punching the ball out? Ed McDaniel and Dwayne Rudd both have that.
Timeout, Dallas. Here's Michael Irvin, who must be wondering, or maybe he's not. Maybe he's made up his mind about his future.
Yeah, I would doubt if Michael Irvin will ever play again.
What a warrior he was,
and you know, and he was such a leader of this team. I mean, this team, and we said it when we did the game in New Orleans, I mean, they didn't have any fire, they didn't have any spirit, and this game has to be played with emotion, and when they lost Michael Irvin, they lost a big part of their emotion.
He played every play with urgency. Here's the handoff to Smith, and there's room for Robert Smith to get a first down. And he does.
I don't know if we pick MVPs of wild card games or whatever, but I would pick him. I think Robert Smith has played like an MVP today in every area. I mean, running the ball, catching the ball, blocking. Look at that, 132 rushing yards. That's a Vikings playoff record.
Red McCombs and his wife, the owner of the Vikings and the first officer, if you go through the media guide of the Vikings, next to him. I'm not sure who's first.
I think Red would be first and Charlene would be second. Yeah. Red was telling me he was at practice the other day, and I was talking to him, and he said he was sitting home Tuesday up there in Texas and San Antonio, and he'd been talking to Denny Green like 3 times for 2.5 hours. And his wife Charlene says to him, "You've been talking to him for over 2.5 hours." And Red said, "I didn't know my talking on the phone bothered you." And she said, "That's not the point. If it's that important to you, and if you're that interested in it, let's go up there right now." And Red said, "Okay, call the plane." So Charlene called the plane, and Red and Charlene have been up here since Wednesday.
They live in San Antonio.
Yeah, but that's not a bad deal.
No, it's not.
If you want to go, let's go call the plane.
In your case, if the same situation occurred, it would be call the bus.
Yep, call the bus.
Look who made his way into the Fox box. Malcolm in the middle. That got great reviews.
Yes, it did.
Dallas has now burned all of their timeouts. 2nd and 11. 8:21 still left, and Robert Smith fights his way across the 35 to about the 37.
Red invited us in after practice to go in and eat lunch with the players in the locker room, and Red's sitting on a stool there eating fried chicken with the players.
There's our friend doing radio.
Yeah, Matt Millen. That's an interesting stance he has to do.
Yeah.
Do radio. One thing about radio that I've always liked, and one thing about radio that Matt likes, you don't have to dress up to do it, nor do you have to take a shower to do it.
Well, Matt abides by all those rules. Smith on 3rd down, and now the Vikings will have to punt.
I think teams are going to worry about the Vikings in these playoffs. You know,
well, if they don't,
you look in the NFC and you say the Rams, and they've had the best record, and Dick Vermeil and his staff and players have done a great job. But if you say in the NFC, what team do you worry about? They all worry about this Minnesota Viking team.
Well, as we said in the beginning, I don't think anyone has any more guns, any more weapons than the Vikings do.
Well, and you see the difference with having Robert Smith healthy and back. The last time they played the Cowboys, Robert Smith didn't even suit up. So to have him in the kind of day that he has, then you add those. I mean, you think of weapons.
Offense, 5 yards.
6:50 left. They let the clock run out, and so there'll be a 5-yard penalty against Minnesota.
But when you think of the weapons, you're thinking of Randy Moss, you're thinking of Chris Carter, you're thinking of Jake Reed, and sometimes you don't get to Robert Smith, but he's a pretty big weapon in himself.
And you forget about Jeff George at the same time, and another pretty good weapon.
And you forget about this kicker here, Mitch Berger.
Yep.
I mean, you know, his punts and kickoffs are a big thing towards field position.
And you forget how accurate Gary Anderson is. Here's Deion Sanders. Deion taken down.
You know, you can see why Deion Sanders was complaining about a face mask here. When you get pulled like that and you can see out your ear hole, the next thing should be a yellow flag.
You're lucky you can see.
He got Werfeld on that one.
He did. Aikman goes into the shotgun. 6:22 left to play as Aikman drops and throws up the middle to Chris Warren. And they'll get about 5 yards out of this.
We talked about Kenny Wright, the rookie, and how you think they're going to work on a rookie, and they really didn't. Kenny Wright has 8 tackles today. He's a leading tackler on this Viking defense.
Here's Aikman. And down he goes. Dwayne Clemens.
Dwayne Clemens got by Eric Williams. And he just ran right around Eric Williams, and Troy Aikman was trying to step up, and Dwayne Clemens gets him. Watch Clemens. He's right here. He's outside. He's number 92. That's the middle of the block, and that's the other one.
On 3rd and long, Aikman steps up and throws complete. At one time, that was a first down to Ishmael, and then he went backwards and got knocked further backwards.
Well, that'll happen. That's one thing that I think the Viking defense is not a good defense. We talked about that. They were like 27th in the league, 30th in pass defense, but they are an improving defense, and they're a pretty good tackling defense now.
They did give a first down to Ishmael. And here's Aikman stepping up, and incomplete up the middle. Intended for the Rocket again. The last time the Vikings met the Rams was last year, and Minnesota won it 38-31.
The Vikings have old Joe Phillips in there now, the old 14-year veteran, and next to him is Chris Dolman, the 15-year veteran. Between this guy and this guy, there's about 30 years of defensive NFL experience.
And here's Aikman to Jeff Ogden to the 45. Minnesota against the Rams in the playoffs in the history. The last time they met was 1988. Minnesota's 5-1 against the Rams. It won't be easy.
No, those aren't the same Rams, though, that they were 5-1 against either.
Down the middle to Ishmael. To inside the 25. Wayne Rudd.
Robert Griffith tried to take one of those shots that you put the guy right in the ground, and he missed. Rocket Ismail saw it coming and went underneath it, and Robert Griffith went right over the top of him.
Aikman. Incomplete. Next week, you talk about seeing stars on both sides of the ball. The Rams have four players who made the All-Pro team: Orlando Pace, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, and Kevin Carter. Not that this one's over yet, but it's getting close. 4:06 left to play.
And they got other weapons than that. I mean, how about that Isaac Bruce?
Yeah. Todd Light and Tony Horn.
I mean, they can get you anyway. I mean, they can get you with the run or the pass. Better tackle.
Chris Warren gets it down to about the 10.
Yep, the Viking defense is back in recess again. I was just saying how well they're tackling. And
flag on the play.
It looked like a touch tackle out there. See number 79 there? The official?
Yeah.
It's Aaron Pointer.
From?
Aaron Pointer is the brother of the Pointer sisters.
From your neighborhood?
Oh, he's from Oakland, yeah.
Yeah.
His father was a preacher there, and Aaron sang in the choir with his sisters at church. And then the sisters went in one direction, and Aaron went in another direction.
Defense, penalty is declined. Result of the play, first down.
First down, Dallas. 4:05 left to play as Jerry Jones has come down.
And he can't do much about this one. Jerry Jones last week had a meeting with 20 of his veteran players and talked about the money he has involved in this team, and he's really not getting a reward for his investment. And he wanted his veterans to take more leadership.
Aikman to Ishmael at about the 8. Robert Tate made the stop,
but they just didn't play well. You know, I mean, they were 8-8 coming in, and they were 1-7, in road games, and this just wasn't the year for the Cowboys.
And no 8-8 team has ever won a playoff game. Robert Griffith makes the interception. It looks like that will continue. Flag on the play. A flag on the play.
Uh-oh. I think that's Everett McGyver, and I think he hit an official too.
Do you?
I think so, yeah. I think I saw him. He was pointing. It was after the play, and I did see him.
Number 67. 15 yards. The play was over. It'll be 1st and 10 at the 35.
Yeah, they got Everett McGyver for after the play, but I think in arguing about it, yep, you see it's not seeing who starts it. And they call it for that, and I think when he argued about it, I think he does hit an official. Well, maybe he didn't there. He started.
No.
I mean, it looked like from up here that he did, but it was a point.
Randall Cunningham is the Minnesota quarterback now. What a year he had last year. And began this year as the starter, replaced by Jeff George. I don't know if Randall Cunningham will be back in Minnesota yet next year or not. Do you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think Jeff George is the quarterback of the present, and Dante Culpepper, their rookie, is going to be the quarterback of the future.
They haven't said that, but that's the impression you get, the feeling you get. Today's game is being produced by Bob Stenner and directed by Sandy Grossman. Associate directors Mike Roy, the broadcast associates Charles McDonald and Mark Mata. Technical producer is Bob Muller. Pre-game show was produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. Senior producer is Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. And they produced a good one today.
And then they produce a losing team that won't play until next year, and a winning team that goes to St. Louis for a game next Sunday.
Leroy Horde.
They're still playing.
Yep.
Leroy Horde is a pile mover. You know, he's not as big as you think. I mean, he plays like a great big back. He's only 5'11", but he weighs about 225 pounds. But Leroy Horde really plays big and really plays powerful.
Yeah, he's got a bad knee.
Yeah, they couldn't get him down. He wants to see it on the Jumbotron, I think. He wants to count how many guys it took to get me down.
Jeff George, who quarterbacked this victory and the Vikings' success so far this year, is like a different guy from the person we've talked to in previous years.
And this is going to be his first playoff win.
Well, you know, John, we were talking about this in the beginning of the broadcast. 8-8 teams in the playoffs, and they still have not won a playoff game.
Well, you play the regular season to deserve the right to play in the playoffs and have a seed, and I never felt that 8-8 teams really deserve being in playoffs.
Randall Cunningham just takes a knee. Dallas can't stop it. No 5, 4, 5, or 6 seed has ever advanced to the Super Bowl.
That was since 1978, but those things, you know, it's a one-day thing. It's, you know, how they're going to be, you know, they know what they did this week, and they have to go up to St. Louis next week, and it's how they do there.
What was Minnesota seeded? 4?
Yeah, they were 4.
Yeah. They got a pretty good shot, I'd say.
Well, they had a great shot last year, and we remember what happened.
Yeah.
They were 15-1, and Atlanta came in here for the championship game, and Atlanta beat them and went to the Super Bowl. And they remember that. That's been a motivating factor for them.
Yeah. Well, the fact that Atlanta...
Number 52 of the defense slapped the ball. Lee set the play clock at 4-0. 4-0, please.
Just add another stupid thing that the Dallas Cowboys have done today. They started out, you know, disorganized and penalties and using timeouts and turnovers, and You know, they had one situation on a punt return. They had too many men on the field, and the Vikings got the first down. And this hasn't been a good day on the field or on the sideline for the Dallas Cowboys.
In a tough time for Chan Gailey. Been a great day for Robert Smith. Who knows what's going to happen down the road, but Chan Gailey's character is never going to suffer.
I think when we saw the Vikings yesterday and on Friday that they realized that the Cowboys were going to take away their passing threat, so Robert Smith had to have a big day, and he did. And this guy here, to me, is the most dangerous player in all of football.
So next weekend, the NFC on Fox. Saturday, Washington at Tampa Bay, and Sunday, Minnesota at St. Louis early. That's where we'll be. Emmitt Smith did his part.
You could just feel the finality of it, you know, that the